A one and a two and a chick-a-boom a chick.
Hey Remodelers, before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to give a quick shout out to our friends at Builder Funnel. I've personally known Spencer and his team for over a decade, and they are the marketing agency that helps remodelers generate more leads, book more projects, and grow revenue. Listen to these numbers. They've recently generated over $78 million of projects, of paying projects for their clients, including $4 million for a San Antonio remodeler, helped scale a Delaware remodeler to $9.8 million, and generated $2.3 million for a Kansas City remodeler. If you're tired of relying on the inconsistency of referrals and want a system that brings in predictable, high-quality leads, Builder Funnel can help. Head over to builderfunnel.com/ROTR to learn more. Builderfunnel.com/ROTR. Welcome everybody to the Remodelers on the Rise show. I am the founder. What's a powerful title? Founder and owner of Remodelers on the Rise. My daughter's, Abe, my daughter's graduating from high school this upcoming year. She's a senior. We're doing all these senior things. And we were pregnant with her when I started my business and quit my job. So it's going on 18 years.
And I think I remember that time period 18 years ago when you were Remodel My Marketing, right?
Remodel your marketing way back in the day. We haven't. I'm talking to Abe. I've been so focused on your last name, Degnan, Abe Degnan, that I butchered the first one. And Cassie asked me, how do we know each other? And I feel like a lot of just online, like Facebook-y, a little bit just via email, but we've never really talked too much.
No, we haven't. But we've been floating in the same circle for ballpark of 18 years.
Yes. So it is good to record this with you. Abe is in Windsor, Wisconsin. I thought there was just Windsor, Ontario. I didn't even know there was a Windsor, Wisconsin.
And I just learned what the heck the other day that there is a Merrimack, like Massachusetts or something, and we've got Merrimack, Wisconsin, right up here on the Wisconsin River.
There we go. It's a small world. You are the president of Degnan Design Build Remodel, second generation, family-owned company serving the Madison area. And we reached out to Abe to kind of allow us to connect and get to know each other a little bit better. But one of the things that we've been doing a little bit more over the last number of months is trying to get some podcasts going where we're just allowing remodelers to share their story. I'm doing these where I never interrupt. I would never dream of interrupting while the person's telling their story, or go down rabbit trails, or talk about Windsor, Ontario, and how when I once got stuck in the tunnel going from Detroit to Windsor, and my buddies had to get out and push the old car, the Cavalier, the little black Cavalier, up out of the tunnel. And you can imagine sometimes you get to the border and they kind of just wave you through. This one, they're like, nah, you're going to go over here. We're going to take a look at you guys. So when I see Windsor, I think of that. I will not go down rabbit trails like that. We are going to stay focused because, Abe, you've got a good story to share about your business, how you got involved in it, where it is today, where it's going in the future. Tell the people about yourself. Let's start maybe more in the older part of the story.
Well, I am second generation. My dad started things in 1981. He, like you, just kind of quit his job one day. Maybe you gave it a little more forethought and planning than he did, but he was doing a lot of side jobs. Worked like second shift at Oscar Mayer, and then was doing remodeling in the mornings before he started his second shift work. And as the story goes, he got fed up with it one day, and cashed in all of his vacation and stuff to get himself a month or two of health insurance and a little bit of pay that he had coming to him, and the rest is history.
As
I
they
was
say.
5 years old back then, and I ended up going to college for architecture. And the short version of it is I ended up joining up with them then.
Very cool. And always kind of working on job sites growing up and just having that kind of in your blood a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Okay.
I'm the oldest of three kids, and so I was the one who was always hanging out with my dad, learning stuff in the workshop, going to job sites with him, and all that stuff. And I enjoyed it most of the time, and figured out that it would be a relatively decent career to be able to enjoy stuff and to make money.
Cool. What kind of shape did he have the business in by the time you were kind of getting real involved in it?
Well, he was still a sole proprietor. 1998 is when I graduated college. He was still a sole proprietor. He had people that helped him, on and off part-time, but he had never had another employee to speak of. And so I joined up with him in 98, and then we eventually changed it from a proprietorship into a S Corp. I became co-owner with him, and then we started growing eventually.
Did you kind of go like 50-50 type ownership?
We did. Yep.
Interesting.
So we each brought some contributions in, he helped gift me in some ways because he had more assets, but of course I was bringing my design skills to the company as well, and looking to grow it into something more than it was as well, which helped him for sure.
Very cool. I'm going to talk more about the design thing, where you graduated from school from, architecture degree, all that. But just a little sidebar for the people listening. S Corp. As you are getting ready, perhaps some of you are wrapping up the year. You're heading into tax season. Number one, get your profit and loss statement organized. Get all of your expenses ready to rock. Do not put that off. Be locked and loaded for that. Do not be filing extensions for your taxes, people listening to this. And if you have a CPA that goes, we'll just file an extension, it just complicates, confuses. No. Be organized enough to get that thing done. And if you are not an S Corp right now, and you've got a little bit of your business going, you're making 70, 80, maybe even 90,000 in compensation, and you're moving up from there, it's going to make a lot of sense for you to switch from a tax saving standpoint to an S Corp. So sorry, you mentioned the S Corp, had to just give a little plug in. Little yelling at people, plus a little plug.
It's important stuff. It is important stuff. So, I saw on your bio an architecture degree. So you got some of this, years of kind of working on job sites. Went off to college, got an architecture degree. Was that something that you were already kind of thinking, I think I'm going to join the family business, and maybe I can bring kind of the design side of things in? No, quite the opposite. When I went to college, I was, thinking I'd probably, be a commercial architect, either have my own business or work for a firm, be a licensed architect, all that good stuff. And what I discovered, though, was that in college, I was doing side jobs. I was freelancing work for people in the Milwaukee metro area who needed someone to design something for them. And I was also designing things that my dad was building, or that I would go back and work with him as a summer job, and I was building them with him. And what I started recognizing was that when the things that I designed got built by me and my dad, they got built the way that I envisioned them. And I was seeing that when other people built my stuff, they weren't doing it the way that I envisioned it. And, that bothered me a little bit. But the other part of it was the architecture profession. You got to go get your master's degree. You got to get licensing. And it's this really ironic thing where they are constantly trying to talk you out of being an architect the entire time that you're in college learning to be an architect. And by the time that I was reaching my senior year, I was like, I really want to be done with college. I don't want to go for another 2 years to get a master's. I don't want to work in a low-paid internship. I don't want to go through all the licensing tests that they tell you how many times you're going to fail the test. And I thought, I don't mind the carpentry work. I don't mind building what I design. I can just finish college, start working, be able to design, be happy designing, and start making money. And I was ready to do that.
Gotcha.
And so I asked my dad if I could join him, and he said, yeah. And so that's what we did.
Very cool. So if you're doing that in 98, 99, 2000, and you start, I mean, were you jumping right into kind of this design build approach, or did it take a few years for that to get moving? Because it feels like from a design build remodel history, that's pretty early on for that.
I think so. I think that was pretty early.
Yeah.
My dad and I, we did a lot of repairs. We did window replacements and roofs and siding and things like that, but we were doing kitchens and basements and doing additions and everything like that. And so my dad had another designer before me who worked somewhere and freelanced and designed what my dad needed. But he was getting ready to retire. And so it was a good opportunity to do that. So my dad was, in a way, design build before design build was really a thing, because people would come to him, tell him what they wanted, and he'd figure out how to put it together. But the customer expectations in terms of what that design looked like, both in terms of literally the plans that get prepared, but also then what is the finished product, that was part of the changes that grew and developed as I came on, and then as we grew the company beyond that and brought on, and where I was no longer designing, but I had other people designing for me.
And I want to, we'll tell more of the steps to get there, but where's the business sitting right now as far as number of employees and kind of size?
There are 12 of us right now. I have 2 designers. I have 2 lead carpenters. I have three remodeling carpenters that work with the lead carpenters. Production manager, salesperson, estimator, and office manager. I think that rounds out everybody in the company.
Got it. Folks, go to Degnan, Degnan, designbuildremodel.com. You guys have definitely taken your time and going, look, let's talk about our people. Let's share kind of the story of who we are. Let's talk about our process. A lot of good best practices there. As you reflect back on, let's call it last 25 plus years, and you kind of zero in on times or things you implemented or approaches that kind of really made the biggest impact towards growing the business the way that you wanted and growing it in a healthy way and growing it in a profitable way. What do you point to as being kind of guiding major, let's call them signposts along the way?
Well, it was investing time and money into learning. And that started out with joining the Builders Association and later NARI. And then I got involved in a roundtable group. So for your listeners who are not yet in a roundtable group, they might really want to consider investing their time and their money in Remodelers on the Rise, because ultimately it was that peer group that really helped me to get where I am today and brought about all the different focuses that I have in terms of how our website is done, how our company culture is done, having our procedures and processes in place, what our sales process is like, and the fact that I spend the majority of my time right now helping my employees, mentoring my employees, rather than doing the work that they actually do for the business.
Yeah. And I know it's weird because I offer similar things, but you were part of Remodelers Advantage for a number of years back in the day.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you were being sweet of roundtables, and you should get involved in Remodelers. And yes, we have some kick butt peer groups that Remodelers on the Rise offers. But I mean, Remodelers Advantage was a big part of your story, and
It
we're
was, yep.
integral in all those things. So we're friends, is all I'm saying.
That's right. Yep.
Yep.
And so everyone needs to pick the group that's going to be right for them.
Yep.
And I had a good run with them. And at the same time, I knew when some changes happened in our family with another adoption. I had to quit business travel, and thankfully I had progressed along to the point where I need less peer group resources at this point now than I did back then.
Yeah, I think you started going through it of going, you know, it was the learning, it was the education that I had that made me think through my overall marketing plan, our overall process and procedures. You mentioned, one of the first things you mentioned was our company culture. These are things that sometimes when you're early in business, you're like, yeah, I need to work on that a little bit. But remodelers who are listening to this, who, you know, if you're looking to grow beyond yourself and a helper, beyond yourself and a couple team members, the culture, the marketing, the sales process, the overall production, design, build, and production processes, getting those in place, you know, and kind of what you're describing, more of your role has shifted to, you know, I'm a leader now. I'm a leader now. My job is to lead my team well, encourage them, empower them, guide them, help them, review their capacity, making sure they're not overwhelmed, all of that, because you're a little further in a different stage in your business now. But the reason you've been able to get there are all of these systems and processes and getting those implemented.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the changes that happens is, you know, the first few years that we hired our first few employees, and, you know, had one carpenter working alongside me and my dad, and, you know, had a couple of challenges with hiring, and had one employee that didn't work out, another employee that left us, and things like that. But when it's just a few of you and you're doing everything, you are side by side leading the company culture the way that I grew up alongside my dad, learning to do everything that he knew. But as the company grows and you start spending time in the office and have people out on the job site, you might not be alongside them anymore. I'm alongside my designers a lot, but I'm rarely alongside my carpenters anymore. And so being able to actually define and put stuff into words about what is the company culture, how do we behave, what are the things that we do, what are the things that we stand for, making sure that people know that, so that they present themselves and they present the company accordingly. It's a big deal, and you have to be more intentional about it as time goes on like this.
Yeah, as you were going through, I had 25 years in my head, and just rounding it to that. And you were going through, you know, we had some early hires. You hired that person, I don't know what the number is, and you probably have to tally it up, but a normal business over those 25 years, here you are, you're sitting with 12 employees right now. I bet you've had 47 over the years. 52 over the years, 27 over the years. I think it's helpful for us to remember, like, you know, hiring is hard. You know, some people, you're going to hire them and they're going to be kicking butt and taking names. They're going to start their own business. Others are going to move on to different opportunities. Like, it was, as you were kind of going through a few of those, it was interesting to kind of think through, you know, it takes a lot of trial and error early on sometimes, et cetera.
Yep.
Just a quick break here to spotlight our friends at Builder Funnel, the agency that's proven over and over they know how to generate serious revenue for remodelers. And when I say revenue, I mean real numbers you can measure. $6.3 million for a remodeler in Atlanta, $1.2 million for a remodeler in Salt Lake City, even $746,000 for a deck builder in Jacksonville. And that's just a handful. The truth is, most marketing agencies talk about impressions and clicks. Builder Funnel talks about projects sold and revenue added. They've built a system that takes the guesswork out of marketing, so you know your investment is working. If you're serious about growth and want your marketing to finally perform at the level your craftsmanship does, Builder Funnel is the partner you want. So if you're ready for a marketing system that actually helps grow your business, head over to builderfunnel.com/ROTR to learn more. Builderfunnel.com/RO.
Yeah. So, I would guess I've had probably about another 15 employees that have come and go over the years is my guess. I think
And
we're
that's not a
small
lot.
enough that it's
It's
not
really
a
not a lot.
We've really tried to be intentional about hiring, and for better or worse, and truly for better or for worse, I'm not sure which one. We really try to be intentional about only hiring people that really fit within the company and that we think are going to be here for a long time. We don't want to hire somebody and then need to fire them, and we don't want to hire and train somebody and have them walk away. So it is you need to be careful with that, because sometimes you got to fill a seat on the bus. But boy, if you fill that seat on the bus with the wrong person, that can be more damaging than to just leave the vacancy in the first place.
Yeah, there's little remodelers on the rise. Core values: results, improve, serve, engage. It's been interesting once we documented this, how we've integrated it into the company, into the conversation. Core values and what you stand for does not need to be super complicated, but it's amazing that when you actually put it out there and you have it on your website and you talk about it in your hiring and you talk about it in the interviews and you really kind of build out what is the culture that we want to build, that can be incredibly helpful in attracting the right folks. And what you just said a second ago is golden. You can't really pinpoint it super easy, but you talked about, I was like, I saw you going through some of the names of like, well, and then we hired somebody, and I was like, oh, you must have been through 100 people. And you think about it and you're like, no, we really haven't had a lot of turnover. Why? Because we're clear with who we are and what our culture is. And we are very, very careful when it comes to hiring. And so many people, like you said, I got to get work done. This guy's got a pulse. It looks like he's got some experience. I'll give him a shot. What's the worst case scenario? It doesn't work out. The disruption of that, the cost of that. So being more thoughtful and slowing down and getting real clear with who you're looking for, obviously is part of a key to success for you too.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Cool.
And we've had good success sometimes with hiring people from outside the construction industry and training them, hiring them for their overall character and for their future potential, but then training the technical skills that they need to have.
In what position? Like in carpenter positions or in office positions, or
carpenter positions and office positions. Office manager, a couple of carpenters. My estimator was not originally in the construction industry. He became a carpenter and a lead carpenter, and is now our estimator. So examples there.
Interesting. What are a couple other kind of, when you look back of going, this is another key thing, what comes to your mind?
Well, one of the things that happened to me is in 2004, I broke my leg on a job site, and I ended up laid up for 6 months. I was in a cast or a boot for 6 months, unable to go to the job site. And so that forced me into being more intentional about my office work, and all the office work that I have been doing on my nights and weekends became what my full-time job was. All the sales meetings that I was doing on nights and weekends became what my full-time job is. And that allowed, it was just my dad and one other guy at that point, allowed them, they had to adapt. Instead of being a team of 3 of us, it was the 2 of them on the job site and me in the office. But I did not go back to the job site on a full-time basis after I got healed up. And actually, interestingly, then it was only another year after that where I hired my first office employee, where I was busy enough doing sales that I hired someone to help me manage the office, do the bookkeeping, and hired him to be a draftsperson and designer. But in order to give him full-time work, he also handled a bunch of the book work at that point.
So the broken leg was like a blessing in disguise.
It was. It was. I mean, it
Huh.
turned me from it. It turned back. It helped begin to turn back some of my workaholism,
Mm.
and cut my working hours from 70-ish down to getting closer to that 50-ish mark, which has now led me to be able to really maintain a 40-hour a week lifestyle for myself.
Mm. So the evenings, you're not fiddling around on work too much. Weekends are pretty off.
Pretty much, pretty much. Yep.
Wow.
It's a great
And
feeling.
part of it is learning to be more disciplined in that. Part of that is starting to build that team around you and handing things off and then building up the team. So it kind of went from, I don't know, I just had to get everything done to kind of piece by piece building that.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct. And it was a transition that took some time,
Yeah.
and there were some missteps in there, but it ultimately did work out.
So a little rapid fire-ish questions. If I were to ask you about pricing, what's some
Yeah.
advice you have for the people listening when it comes to pricing and markup and margin?
Well, first of all, you got to understand the difference between markup and margin.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, markup and margin are not arbitrary numbers. There are your peer group and the industry publications are probably going to give you some recommendations. But the fact is, you need to understand what you need to charge in order to cover all the expenses of doing business and to pay yourself for the hours that you're not on the job site. If you're doing estimating and you're doing book work and you're doing salesman, you got to pay yourself for each of those positions, and you need to know how much that's worth. And then you need to know what your overhead cost is of doing business, paying for your health insurance, paying for your trucks, paying for all your other insurance, the electricity, the home office or the real office. And then you figure out how much you need to charge for your markup and margin.
Bingo.
Then from a sales standpoint, once you know those numbers, you have confidence in your numbers, and that confident attitude, I don't care whether you're more expensive or less expensive than the other guy, but when you know what that price is, you can present with confidence, which then is going to have an impact on the way that you sell, because you know what you actually need to do and that your numbers are real. So therefore, you will have, even if you're more expensive than some other guy out there, your confidence alone, let alone learning how to sell, is
Mm-hmm.
going to help you sell.
Bingo. Know your numbers. Know your numbers. I was on the phone with a client earlier today, and in fairness, I had just done my 2026 business budget. So it was easy for me. I'd be like, oh, I got this down. And we were talking about potentially adding a project manager to his team. And he's already got one, and we're looking at how to do that. And we're looking at overhead expenses and where it's going to go. And he's like, well, my gut's telling me that if we grow like this and we keep this kind of margin, we'll be fine. I said, your gut. No. We got to know the numbers. And I looked over my budget and I said, next year, my employee number is going to go up $23,622 from this year to next year. And
Yep.
I said, I didn't do that to just, he's like, point taken. I got you. I need to know my numbers. We need to spend time understanding our numbers. And you just gave a bunch of clarity and approaches to doing that. Cool. So that's financials. Another rapid fire one. When it comes to the topic of marketing, what does Abe say about marketing? Oh, here's how you need to think about marketing, or here's one thing we're doing or have done that really has some bang for the buck. What comes to your mind for marketing?
We have spent a lot of money on our photography and a lot of money on our website, and we bring in a lot of leads through our website. So do it right. Cell phone photos. If you want to have a great website that stands out from your competition, cell phone photos are not enough. And really, if you're not presenting magazine quality photos, then you don't really have a reason to invest in SEO and do much promotion of your website. The two things go hand in hand. Bring the people in and show them beautiful work that you're proud of, that shows up as good on the computer screen or the tablet screen as it does in real life.
Love it. Sales process. What is a key or two to the sales process side of things?
Well, years ago, I learned about Sandler sales, and I spent at least 5 years as part of a Sandler sales peer group, and used that process in order to be able to to create our sales process. About 3 years ago, we hired our first salesperson, client relationship specialist, as we call him. And I had to go down and take everything that was in my brain from the scripts that I had created and document that and write it down in order to be able to give him the resources and give him the training so that then he could make that his own. So you need to have a sales process. And there's, again, many different things that you can choose from, many different consultants that you can choose from, but invest in it, believe it, follow it, practice it, and then the tweaks that you make, document it so that you can teach it and repeat it.
Bam. Ooh, you're getting this rapid fire thing. You're bringing it, Abe. You're bringing it. Getting very clear on the sales process. This is how we work. Have that clear process. What is your favorite checklist that you have, or a little process that you have in your business? What comes to mind for that? It's like, I love it when we follow.
We call it our proven process for your successful project. And that is our 9-step process that takes everybody from the first phone call all the way through the end of the construction process, telling them what they can expect. And that is thoroughly documented in about a 30-page Google Doc that has everything from the sales script to every step that we go through in the design process, the estimating and selections process, how we prep for construction, what we do during construction, and what we do after construction.
Bam. Showroom. Let's say I'm doing a couple $1 million revenue. I've had an office, thinking about getting a showroom, doing a showroom. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we have what we call a design center. So our office has a design center. We have a lot of selections, but we are not a kitchen and bath showroom. We are focused on having clients by appointment. Our goal is not to have walk-in clients. We don't want tire kickers. We want people who are committed to us. And so that is the process that we have chosen, a design center over a showroom.
Interesting. And how much of the selections are you able to do within that design center?
We keep cabinetry samples, countertops, a whole variety of flooring. We curate stuff, and we use that word very intentional, curate, like a museum. So we curate the samples that are trending at the time, that fit clients' budgets, and that are the most popular right now. We keep those on hand so that we can put together that information. I would say that around 75 or 80% of our selections will generally happen in our design center, and the rest of them are either going to be my designers taking the clients out to a partner's showroom, like a flooring professional, or otherwise the designers will go out and curate more samples and bring them in so that we can try to keep the clients here.
That's a good word. That's a good word for that. Ooh, the rapid fire. We're killing it here. What's one of your company values?
One of my company values is making honest promises with transparency. Honest promises. A lot of people make promises that they're never going to keep. So we want to be able to live up to the promises that we make and never make a promise that we are unable to or don't actually intend to keep.
Love it. You're a dad. I saw in the bio, biological kids. You got a stateside adoption. You got some worldwide adoptions that you and your wife have done. Tell me, give me some tips from one dad to another, sir. Because obviously you're perfect. You're Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way, right? Or just share what comes to your mind when it comes to kind of the life outside of work.
Well, let's see. I've got 6 kids. My oldest son is married, and I have a grandson. Meanwhile, my youngest is 13. So I am both dad and pops at the same time here. 5 of my children are adults, and adoption is complicated. Marriage is challenging. I'm going on 26 years, but I know the book of Job, And when the Satan brings the disaster on Job, Job, his first set of children die. Job's wife doesn't die. And actually, she tells Job when he's in the midst of his misery that he should curse God and die. And he reproves her. He rebukes her. He says, "No, don't say that." And they go on. And so you think about this. His kids were adults already. That makes Job and Job's wife probably 40, 50 years old. And so much as Abraham had his sons, Isaac and Ishmael, in his old age, Job and his wife started over probably after age 50 and went on to have more children and heal their marriage after Job was told to curse God and die by his wife, who became his tormentor instead of his supporter. They healed that. They fixed that. And they had an entire second half of their marriage. That's what I'm looking forward to in my life right now is a second half of my marriage that is better than my first, and I've got kids to raise and grandchildren coming up here.
Good. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, being just transparent and honest. And I can only the adoption part of things, the patience during the adoption process, the patience required to just see that difficult, time-consuming, challenging process through the balance. I mean, six kids is a lot of kids, right? It's like day by day, just no matter how yesterday went, no matter how last month went, whether it's in the marriage, whether it's with the kids, whether it's with your faith, whether it's with the business. A lot of times when we look in the rearview mirror and we're turning our head like that, it just messes up our neck. It's just kind of, it's not very helpful just to kind of look in the rearview mirror. And, so whoever's listening to this, as Abe was kind of just sharing honestly from his standpoint, which I appreciate, a lot of times it's, what can I do today to, improve my marriage? What can I do today to be a better father or mother? What can I do today to be a better son or daughter to your parents or whatnot? It requires a lot of patience. It requires a lot of taking the focus off ourselves and serving others. And I can only imagine it just complicates things even more when we've got biological kids and adopted kids and all of that. But did you say your nickname? Did you say I'm a dad and a pops? Are you going by pops as a grandpa?
My wife chose that our names are Lolly and Pops.
Lolly and Pops.
Yep.
Wow.
Now, my son and daughter-in-law aren't crazy about it, but you know what? It's
starting to stick.
Pick your own grandparent names, and so that's what we're aiming for.
There we go. Lolly and Pops. I got a Mimi and a Papa. That's what my in-laws are, and then my parents are pretty traditional. They're just straight up grandma and grandpa.
Yeah.
What is the shovel in the background? Was that a groundbreaking of your guys' office, I'm guessing, perhaps, or what was that?
So that's a second business that I own and operate, actually, called Freedom Storage Shops. And so, we haven't even talked about that part of things. But when I talk about working my 40 hours a week is actually running two different businesses where Freedom Storage Shops operates completely independently from Degnan Design Build Remodel. It is nice.
Share a little bit about that.
So when we bought the office that I'm at now, this office does not have any shop space. It is a retail location that I share with a hair salon, an accountant, and a investment advisor. It's a retail condo space. I mean,
what more could you ask for? You got your money taken care of. You got your hair done.
That's right. Yep.
Remodel your home.
Yep. But our whole goal in buying instead of renting was we were renting a barn that was maybe 6 or 8 miles from our office, and the rent was cheap, but it was inconvenient. And, we did that for years. for years. And so we were looking to get everything together. And so there was a piece of vacant land right next to this office, and that vacant land then I bought and developed. It was bigger than I needed just for my company, but it has allowed me to build condo buildings for small businesses. I've got hobbyists in there. I've got a drywall company in there. I've got a car detailer. I've been talking to like coffee roaster and I've talked to an insulation company, different things like that. Those are some of the uses that Freedom Storage Shops is made for. It's not made for retail stuff. It's
Freedom
made
Storage
for small
Shop.
businesses.
So it's almost kind of storage / a little bit of a step up from that, where people can operate their business out of it.
Yep, exactly.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. Well, wonderful. Those were all my rapid fire questions. I'm curious. So one, if people want to check out your website, you're talking process, I think just studying your website would be good for a lot of the remodelers listening to this. So Degnan, Degnan Design Build Remodel.com. And then the thing you just mentioned, Freedom
Storage Shops.
StorageShops.com. There you go, people.
Look that one up as well.
Abe, what if you were to share another, either emphasize something that was shared or something else that kind of comes to your mind as you think of a bunch of remodelers listening to this recording, and we're trying to kind of encourage and maybe inspire and help them just by sharing your story and experiences, what would be the final thing that comes to your mind to share?
You got to start writing some of this stuff down. And then refining it. And done is better than perfect when it comes to writing stuff down and implementing this, figuring out what is your mission, your vision, your values. Just get it done. Write it down, document it, and then you have the rest of your life to refine it and turn it into what you want it to be. And then once you've got that done, make it public. Put it on your website. Start talking about it. Talk to your employees about it, and make sure that they know about it. So that because you don't want to look like everybody else out there. You want to look like what you want your company to be. And given all the competition that there is in advertising and in construction, you got to do something differently than other people do. And the way to do that is to focus on who you are, who you want to be.
Love it. Cool. Wonderful. Abe, it was good to kind of get to know you better through this. We'll talk again soon. And thank you for sharing your story.
You bet. Thanks, Kyle.
All right. Appreciate it.